James, calm down. Let's have a normal discussion instead of shouting, because it's not productive. What I'm saying is that when two people of opposite gender get married, they have the option to have children.
Not necessarily.
Can I finish? Can I finish? Can I finish? Okay, can I finish? They have the option, unless you're talking about an anomaly where there is some medical reason they can't. That is an exception to the rule, not the rule. But generally speaking, people get married not only for lust, not only just because they love each other or that is the reason. There's many factors involved in that. Because when you get married not only to one person, you basically bring another relationship, a whole family of the other person into the equation. So there are many factors in marriage. Okay, it's not just for lust. Okay, not just for sex either, and not just for children either. So these things are part and parcel of a marriage. Okay, but when you have the same-sex marriage, what is the main reason?
It's the connection.
Well, you can't have children for sure, so we can't use that as an option.
Straight people can't have children. That doesn't mean they love their partner any less.
Once again, you're using an example of.
Yeah, but I'm disproving it, because if you're in a straight relationship and you can't have a kid, does that mean you love your wife less?
Okay, can I?
No, answer it. Answer the question.
But I will if you keep quiet. Calm down. In fact, I've already answered it, but you were not listening. What did I say earlier? I said there are certain exceptions where they can't have children because of medical reasons. Wait. I've already answered your question, but you were not listening. So listen once again. An exception where there is a medical condition for a couple not to have children, it is an exception, not the rule. A rule is not based on exceptions. Now, if they had a reason, like a medical reason, because of which they cannot, so it's not their choice anymore. It is nature, because of the natural inability to have children. It is not in their control. But when two people who are married and who have a normal, physiology, then they are able to have children, is it not? But they can choose. They can either choose to have. I know many people who are married, opposite genders. One of my managers whom I used to work with, he chose not to have children. Yeah. So I told him, okay, what's going to happen when you are going to get old? Yes. Then he really didn't have an answer, because children normally, especially in Islam, we believe that one of the main reasons that to create harmony between the parent and the child is that the children respect the parents, and the parents in turn respect the children. And the parents are actually, once they grow older, the Quran says that do not neglect your parents. You should take care of them. In fact, one of the passages in the Quran, Allah says, obey Allah, and then He talks about the rights of the parents, right next to it. Okay? So for us, this relationship between children and parents is very important. So those same-sex people, couples, they themselves had heterosexual parents. That's the reason they are in this world. Okay? Now, it is a choice, by the way. It is that choice. It is not because they choose not to have babies. It is by choice they choose. They actually choose to have a same-sex, but there is no option at all to have children.
Yes.
So what they do, they crave children when they grow older, and then they adopt children of heterosexual people.
They don't want them.
All right? No, not necessarily.
This is
not necessarily.
Why they?
There are, by the way, I do agree with you. There are certain people who are irresponsible and who, after having children, they don't want to have the responsibility. And this, again, in Islam is forbidden. Once you have children, then you're. In fact, even if you are a disabled child, you're obliged to take care of the child. For us, even I don't know what your views are with regards to terminating pregnancy. Abortion. Yeah. What's your view with regards to that? You support abortion as well?
Yeah.
What about the right of the child in that case?
It's not a child.
Say again?
It's a
myself first.
Okay, what date?
Before
It's a collection of
Why?
cells.
Because that's my natural instinct. I'm going to put.
But the child never had a say in this matter.
Child.
Okay, so whose fault was it? The child's or the parents?
It's nobody's fault if it's an accident.
No. If it is an accident.
If it's an accident.
Wait. When you say an accident, what does that mean? That means you took preventive measures and then you got pregnant. Is that what you're saying? Because to me that is an accident.
That's one.
Yeah. Okay. That I agree. When you have taken measures not to get pregnant and then you get pregnant, then I agree that is an accident. But today we have like 200,000 abortions a month in this country, a month or a year, forgot what it was. But what it is, like there's a huge proportion. I think it's a year. Sorry, it's a year. In a year, you have 200,000 abortions. That's a huge number, and I don't think all those are damaged condoms.
No, but,
Okay.
but you shouldn't saddle a woman with a child.
No, wait. When you say saddle, the minute two of them tangoed together, yes, they already took the responsibility, or becoming
I agree
irresponsible.
with that. I feel like if you have sex
but you're-
without a condom, you should be willing
Yes,
to.
but if you're 15 years old, you don't necessarily know what you're doing. You're irresponsible.
Then don't have sex then, if you're not responsible.
Maybe if
15-year-old
Simple as
people
that.
they've always had sex. They're always going to have sex.
No, but if you have sex, then you know the consequences
Not
of
as a
that.
15-year-old. Wait, did you know what?
Wait. You know 15-year-olds are quite clever. Don't underestimate them.
Not all of them, though.
No. I agree.
Did you-
Not all 15-year-olds just play Xbox and Game Boys or whatever it is. They are quite responsible for many things. You know that in certain countries, 15-year-olds, they run the family.
Yes.
Okay?
But in this country, they're not. Our culture.
But they're not stupid in this country
Our
either.
country doesn't raise 15-year-olds to be that.
Why not? They should. Why not?
We probably should be more mature.
However,
Yeah, go on.
In some
You can come in.
Like my friend grew up in a Catholic school, right?
Yeah.
She has been taught that the best way of having sex is having no sex.
Prevention.
So then
Yeah.
when they have sex, they don't know what a condom is. She's 18 and she doesn't know what a condom is.
Okay, so listen, in the age of information, ignorance is a choice.
They're not allowed. They can't.
What, internet?
All the links are blocked.
Oh, do they not have internet at home? Come on.
No, they don't. Well,
You're telling me Catholics don't have internet at home?
they're kids.
I don't know which country you're living in.
No.
But in this country, everyone has internet, as far as I know. The reason,
websites are blocked.
lady, trust me. Anyone who doesn't have,
I know my friend.
so your friends don't have internet at home.
They have internet. All of their websites are blocked.
What?
Any information.
Who blocks it?
Parents, like parental restrictions. You can have parental
Okay,
restrictions on stuff.
so are you telling me that Catholics don't know that when they have sex, they can get pregnant?
They do, but
They know that, but they don't know how to prevent
Do
it.
they not see outside that they sell condoms? You're not living, even in a third world country, they know what condoms are. So if anybody tells me in this day and age, yes, in a country like England, yes, children young, like 15 years old, don't know what condoms are, I think that is BS. Okay, with all due respect. So anyway, going back to the responsibility, why do you say the parents don't have a responsibility? When they get pregnant, then they are responsible as soon as, yes.
You know what's interesting? When it comes to sex, a 15-year-old child or the 15-year-old child doesn't know. But if that same 15-year-old child was driving and runs over someone, no one's going to say, oh, it's okay, he's young, he
Well, they
doesn't
do.
know.
That's literally what young offender prisons are for. You go and you go rehab, or you go do that. That's the whole point, because you're not.
So they are
charged as an
accountable.
adult. You're not charged as an adult because they
You prove
recognise
my
that
point.
No, but they are still
My
accountable.
point.
they're held to account to an extent.
Yeah, I know,
They are
but
held
they are
to
accountable.
account.
That's the thing.
You don't say he's just 15, just leave him. A 15-year-old child, let's go less, 13-year-old child, drinks,
do with killing a human being.
somebody or does something.
This is like the
They are
legal
still
side,
held
isn't it?
accountable. Nobody says, oh, they didn't know, it's okay. So similarly, if a 15-year-old now decides to have sex, why is there a double standard there?
Because you shouldn't have to ruin your life just because you made one bad.
What do you mean ruin the life? What about ruining the life of the baby that you're killing?
It's not a baby yet, though. It's a bunch of cells.
Ask the mother, she will always say my baby, unlike you. Okay, so trust me, when your mom was pregnant with you, I'm pretty sure while you were still a fetus, she called you my baby.
It's an idea, though. It's not a physical thing. It's
I
an
know,
idea.
but that is the thing about emotions.
You know,
It is an
you start
idea.
trivializing life.
Exactly.
Oh,
It's
this
not
is
life, though.
To your mother, it was.
It is life.
It's the
That's
potential for
because she
life.
wanted
It's a
it.
human being.
Exactly.
The potential.
She was responsible.
Scientifically, when the egg and the sperm, they fertilize and that process happens, scientifically, it's now, the process has started. So let's stick with science, because if we start trivializing life, oh, that's an ant, oh, that's an amoeba, oh, that's that, then you know what? Then it starts, escalating, and then you start dehumanizing human beings. Oh, we can invade that country because those people are doing this or doing that. A life is a life, and we should be consistent when it comes to morality. A child is a
But
child,
it's not a child yet.
but that's what I'm saying.
Okay, when is it going to be
Scientifically,
charged?
In this country, it's 24 weeks, isn't it? There's a legal definition for when they are a child.
Have you ever seen an abortion in your life?
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, maybe you should. You'll change your mind.
I won't change.
When you have someone who is like a few weeks old, maybe even 12 weeks old, and they look like a fully formed baby with limbs, with a face, yes, with a heart beating, and they pluck them limb by limb, then you'll change your mind. Because what you're doing now, the reason you're trivializing it is because you haven't come across it. When you actually face it, then you'll actually have tears in your eyes. Trust me, you will.
It's
A baby being plucked limb by limb. That is what abortion is, my friend.
Majority of the people doing abortions, in your understanding and from what you've heard, why do majority of the people do abortions? Majority.
because they don't want to look after the child. They can't look after the child.
Right, because of.
Situations, economic, social.
But we live in a country in which that's not a good enough reason.
Why?
Because
You'll
there's
still
child
have to
support,
you still have to
universal
look after
credit.
the child though. You can't go to school. You can't go to university. Your whole life is ruined because of one time.
Because of one what?
But in this
Because of one irresponsible behavior from the parents. You cannot blame the child for that, my friend. That's all I'm saying. A child.
But you're blaming a child.
No, wait.
You're blaming a child.
How?
If they're 13, you're blaming a child.
For what?
For getting pregnant in the first place.
Well, but they knew the repercussions of that.
But
They knew exactly what was going to happen if they got
Not
pregnant.
exactly. It's not certain though.
It is pretty certain. In this country it is. I don't know which country you guys are from, but in this country a 13-year-old knows what sex is, what the consequences of that are, and they even know how to prevent it. So don't tell me in this country they don't. There's a lot of support system they have put. The NHS has put. Okay, so you cannot say they don't have a choice. They do have a choice. They have options. Now if you're going to blame, if you're going to blame everything on the child, then why the adults are not being blamed? That's the
Can I
question.
ask, have both of you got parents?
Of course. Where do you think they came from?
No, but who live with you and like you're not grown up in foster home.
Yeah, we are not.
So then how can you say a foster home is a good enough life if you haven't experienced it?
No one is saying it's good enough, but it's better than death.
Than death. I mean, come on, you can't compare the two.
Exactly. One is pulling limb by limb in your mother's womb.
You know
they're
that's
not
not
aware of
actually.
it.
Have you seen an abortion?
I have actually.
That's not how an abortion.
Have you seen an abortion?
Yes.
How does it happen?
Because they take a pill. I don't know what
There's
what year
there's
you watched
surgical
it.
abortion.
No. Pill is only. Wait. Pill can only work up to a certain number of
have
weeks.
surgical abortion
After that, you only have one option, which is surgical.
Because of the size.
That's why you haven't seen it.
Because of the size.
From the.
Isn't that illegal?
And by the way, no. 24 weeks is a lot of time. Yeah, 24 weeks is a lot of time. So if anyone goes up to that what do you say, the borderline, when it becomes illegal to have an abortion, then I think they probably are living in some, I don't know, out of reality. They're not in touch with the reality. But if you look at the baby as it's developing in the mother's womb at a very young age, yes, when you would still call it fetus, and I would call it baby, yes, the heart is beating at a very young age. Yes?
They're not conscious of
I think just a couple of weeks the heart starts
They're
beating.
not conscious though.
Define consciousness.
They're not experiencing. They have no. There is no woes. They're existing purely within the womb. If you end, because you're saying
Is that your definition?
you're saying an ended life is
So-
worse.
so baby-
a bad life, but
so-
they have no life. It's surely no life is better than a bad life.
Firstly, you said consciousness. Our understanding of consciousness is very minimal. We say 24 weeks. Science is constantly understanding more and more and more. For us to pin something and say, no, this is exactly when the child is alive, therefore we can do that, I would even say maybe 10 years down the line, science may advance. For us to rely and put our entire morality on the current scientific understanding, do you think that's sensible?
It's not just a moral point.
Do you think that's sensible?
It's not just a moral point. It's practical though. You have to be it's been proven.
James, if you want to be practical, then we say that at fertilization, when copulation has happened and the person is pregnant, a life is alive. If you want to be pragmatic, you want to keep flat. If you then want to go to weeks, you have to resort to science. That's what you said. You said 24 weeks.
I'm saying I'm bringing if it's going to cause a worse outcome. If I told you this person's going to be miserable for their entire life, it's going to ruin the parent's life, it's going to ruin the child's life. Is that a beneficial outcome?
Yeah, but like you said,
When you start killing people,
there is social
because of
network here.
emotions, that's a problem.
They're not people. It doesn't exist. It's not.
There's a network in this country.
It has no choice. When you're an adult, you have a choice. It's not a thing. It's just a bunch of.
You actually made a good point. You said, what if the person's going to be miserable for their whole life? We know cognitively, no one stays miserable for their whole life.
Yeah.
So initially, when a child is born, they may feel miserable. However, with that new life, when a connection develops, then obviously the relationship, the feelings will change. And what we're trying to tell you from a Muslim paradigm, from an Islamic paradigm, and we say that because God has created us, He has the picture, we have the pixel. He has the bigger picture. As human beings, we have a smaller understanding, and I'm sure you guys subscribe to the liberal mindset.
I would describe myself as liberal.
Moral-wise, mostly, yeah?
Morally liberal. I don't include religion in my morality.
Okay, yeah, so liberalism does...
Agnostic? Are you agnostic?
I think there's spirituality. I don't think you need to quantify it into a God.
What about you?
I'm atheist.
So what's the reason? Like, because atheist is somebody that's certain that there's no God.
I have grown up in a religious household and I hated it. I hated what it did to people. I think there are too many people who use religion as an excuse to do bad and ruin religion for everyone else for it to possibly be good.
Do you mind if I ask which religion your parents are?
Hindu.
Hindu? So what is it in Hinduism that ruined people's life? Caste system? Okay, fair enough.
You know, that's the problem of evil. It's actually quite common, but I'm sure you'll agree that their being evil or their being bad people doesn't disprove God logically.
It doesn't disprove God, but it's not a God I want to believe in.
What if atheists do something similar to what the religious people do? Then what do you do?
But then atheist isn't a religion.
Exactly.
So it's
But there's an ideology.
themselves doing it.
Yeah, but if you're going to subscribe to an ideology, and that ideology does the same thing.
It's an absence of ideology.
It does, there is
No, really.
It is.
Because it has a
There's
definition.
nothing there. It's an absence.
No.
It's literally an absence.
No, you're talking about the creator being nothingness, but in terms of ideology, it's more like liberalism, secularism, where there's a no harm principle, where they say as long as you don't harm someone, you can live freely as you wish. But you see, in every society, there is limits. Like for example, in this country, you cannot become an anti-Semite and get away with it. So you don't have that liberty wherever you go, even though you assume that atheism gives you or liberalism gives you that freedom. But in reality, every single ideology, whichever it is, has certain limits.
How does atheism restrict your life in any way? How does it affect? If you're an atheist for a day, how is that going to change? Like, it's obviously going to lose stuff because you're not going to pray. But how does it actually affect you? Like, when are you going to think I'm an atheist? I'm going to act differently in this situation.
In terms of morality.
Yeah.
Because in morality,
objective morality.
An atheist can't prove if X thing is right or wrong.
But it's right
You
or wrong
can't
to
prove
me.
anything.
But do you see?
You're saying it's
Do you
right
see
or
what
wrong because I believe in a God. I have that backing me. I have God backing me. I have myself backing me. What's the difference?
That's more.
So it comes down to subjectivism, isn't
Yeah.
it? So subjectivism, I'm sure you'll agree, can't be proved. So
Neither can be proved, but at least you know.
You see?
I know myself.
That's fine. Look, what I'm saying is, for you to prove something that this is right or wrong, you have to, by definition, prove it objectively. For you to say,
So we are looking for objective
There is
morals.
no right and wrong.
No, we are looking. Look.
But
that's
there
no,
are
that-
no
limiting
objective
yourself.
morals.
If I come,
Okay, one second.
look, I've hurt Hashim, and you go, man, I was like, but look, I've hurt him, and he's like, yeah, can you call the police? Is that bad though? You're limiting yourself.
But society gets together. Society gets together and agrees what's right and wrong. That's the whole point.
No, but hold on. No. You know there are certain things which every society will agree. If I asked you, do you know any society which agrees with rape?
Yes.
Yes.
Which?
Middle Eastern.
What? Rape?
Agrees with rape.
Which? Where did you?
Iran.
Which Middle Eastern country have you been to?
Iran.
Have you been to Iran?
From there.
You're
I'm
from Iran.
Have you been to Iran? Do you know the punishment for rape is in Iran? You don't have it in India. Trust me.
I think there's a difference between the culture of the religion and the culture of the people.
No, it's not culture. I'm talking about religion. That's the reason I asked you specifically.
Religion is a culture.
Which ideology or religion has agreed with rape?
Oh, I misheard you.
Okay, so anyone who says that rape is okay, I don't think there's any such, even in the past and the present, and I very much doubt in the future rape will become okay.
Well, we were talking to a guy earlier who was
Well, he's probably not right in the head.
well, he was a Christian.
It doesn't matter. Oh, he agreed with rape.
Yeah, he said
Seriously?
you said it was good.
What was the context?
Women are property.
Oh. Well, you know, in this
It was
country,
nice to hear.
you know, in this country, the women were property 150 years ago.
That's what we were arguing. He was saying that, for instance, Muslims are coming over with what in this country be seen as backwards views. backwards,
Yeah.
and he was saying that Christians don't believe that, but I was saying like it's not Muslims rape, it's men are raped.
Exactly. Yeah.
And women.
But yeah, he was talking about the rape
And the punishment for rape is the most severe in Islam, trust me. Okay, it's one of the most severe punishments in Islam and also in Judaism and also in the Old Testament times when the Christians used to believe in that as well. But what I'm saying here is that there are objective truths, you cannot deny that. So when you say there's no truth and falsehood, I doubt very much that is the case. There are things which are objectively true and which are objectively
Science.
false. Not necessarily, even science is not written on stones.
gravity.
No, of course, there are things in science which are observable, and these things are true. But I'm not saying everything in science.
No, that's theoretical.
Yeah, exactly.
Theoretical.
Exactly. So science is not written on stone. Okay, there are things. As soon as they find new data, they can change the postulation quite easily. Okay, so sorry.
So in terms of theology, a person that's an atheist will tend to be a liberal. They'll tend to be a capitalist. They'll tend to be a nihilist. For example, if I was to ask you now, can you prove to me that a neurosurgeon who spends his days, healing people and performing really intrusive surgery is superior to somebody who just sits at home making circles all day?
I personally don't think he is.
That he is superior? So you think somebody who makes circles all day is the same as a neurosurgeon?
They deserve the same rights, they deserve an equal life.
You don't think one is better?
No, I think one might be cleverer and smarter, but I don't think.
Are you talking in terms of value as a human? That's what you're saying, right?
Sorry?
You're talking about in terms of value as a human. Is that what you're referring to? Because to the society,
I think to the society, neurosurgeon
exactly,
much
exactly.
More, much
So when you have a child who has a disease,
means less.
when you have a child who requires a neurosurgeon, you will not look for a guy drawing circles. You'll go look for a guy who is going to help you,
But that doesn't
who's
mean you
qualified.
Can kill the guy who
No, I'm not saying. He asked you about the value. Are the same? They're not the same, obviously.
He said which one's better.
Yeah, in terms of moral superiority.
Yeah.
If a person is performing brain intrusive surgery and somebody just making circles all day, I, as a believer in God, I can say that a person who's performing surgery, that person is morally better than somebody that's not doing that. You see? So you were saying, how does that limit me as an atheist? I would say that's how it limits you. If something happens in front of you, a crime, you guys are talking about rape. If something like that is happening in front of you, you can't as an atheist go, that's wrong.
You can.
I do.
How?
That's your opinion. It's purely your opinion. It's your opinion, and that's the only thing you can really know. You think there's Allah up there, but that's you don't know. You don't know. The only thing you know is you think. I think therefore I am. Descartes. I think the only thing you know is what you're thinking in this current moment. That's the only thing.
I think therefore I am.
Yes.
Is that what you're predicating?
No, but I'm saying that's the only thing that you can actually know, and that is what atheism is. Atheism, the only thing you know is what you're thinking. The only thing in this
I have water.
is what you're thinking, and so that means that you're not restricted. You know your opinion, and that's right. Right and wrong is purely determined by what you think.
Do you agree with that as well? That the foundation is I think, therefore I am.
Which just means you're conscious. That's all it means.
No, but I mean that's
you disagree with that, yeah?
Like it's an absolute.
What's your reason for disagreement?
Ideology. That's what I'm saying.
I think
Consciousness.
there are loads of
That's what Descartes was talking
people
about.
who think
Yeah, you're conscious, but
don't really exist.
It's not your consciousness isn't
I
being
feel like
influenced by it.
existing
It's an absolute
in
removal of
this
influence.
world is
It can be
different
influenced
to
by your
having
friends,
a
by the
soul.
society.
But then
What are you studying at university? What are you studying at university?
I'm saying it's a pure.
Sorry, I don't want to
Philosophy,
have a
politics, and
discussion.
economics.
All right, say no more. Say no more.
Sorry, what was
Then
that?
you're going to understand my response to him then.
Okay, go on.
So you said, I think, therefore I am.
Yes.
Yeah, that's been refuted by many contemporaries of Descartes himself. For example, I think, therefore I am is predicated on I. Nietzsche said, how can you even assume that there is an I to begin with?
Because you know.
No. Because you're saying, merely thinking, that's the foundation of everything. Nietzsche said, if you're saying that's the foundation and the statement is I think, therefore I am, I, again, is an identity, is a being, so that's false. Wittgenstein then said, how is that person even conceptualizing that statement? Because that statement is predicated on language. So that's why I'm saying that if you constantly keep going down, what you can do is, and this is what philosophers go down to, is called a necessary being. Because otherwise you're going to be stuck in an infinite regress. This is dependent on this is dependent on this. So I will actually give you a lifeline, and the lifeline is existence. This is what Avicenna said, that the most foundational thing that we have to exist, that we have to agree even when we're interfacing and talking here, is that we have to agree and accept that we exist.
They're the basic principles.
Yeah. So you accept that we exist, isn't it?
Well, there's conspiracy theories about.
James, I'm asking your theory.
Well,
Are you in touch with your reality? That's the question.
no, it's the simulation theory, which.
Exactly. I know what you were thinking.
You've been,
Are you
you've
in
been
touch with
watching
your
too much
reality?
Black Mirror.
Maybe a bit of Truman Show.
Okay, I like
The
that.
Matrix, are you?
Yeah, but I think I accept, largely I accept that. Yeah, you are.
You exist as well, yeah? Do I exist?
I think you. Yes.
Okay,
But
good.
isn't existence, again, is predicated to your consciousness?
Yeah.
You need to be conscious for you to even say, I exist.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So I think consciousness truly plays an important role as well.
Yeah, that's why they call it the hard problem of consciousness. Do you believe that there is order, some order in the world that we live in? Yes?
Limited, but yes.
Yes. Then, if we use logical reasoning, there is existence, there is order. Therefore, there is existence to explain that order. Do you have any issue with that line of reasoning?
Explain it a bit more.
So there is existence,
Yeah.
fundamentally.
Yeah.
There is order.
Yeah.
So that order,
Some order.
yeah. So that order has to be predicated on an existence.
It's interactions between people existing that creates the order.
Yeah, because I'm linking it to the fact that there can't be an infinite regress of dependent things. There has to be a necessary being. Like, was it Aristotle who called it the prime mover?
Yeah.
Yeah, the prime mover, yeah? So what do you think about the prime mover argument? So that's like, if you're dependent on X dependent on Y is dependent on Z, and it keeps going, yeah? There has to be an end to that chain.
And the end to the chain is God.
No, the end to that chain is a necessary being, according to the philosophy that you're studying as well. To Leibniz, Descartes, all of these guys,
But
yeah.
for you guys, it's God, right?
But for us, what we'll say is that, and you're welcome to challenge this, and the Quran gives a 4-line criteria. And in fact, I would say this is special and unique to Islam, and you're more than welcome to disprove it here and now. Yeah? And Christianity doesn't have it, Hinduism doesn't have it, Sikhism doesn't have it. We have a 4-line pH test of God. It's towards the end. Yeah? He is one. Like that necessary being is one.
It uses he.
Yeah, he is like
For them, it's opposite.
That's your quantification.
no, there's no he, there's no she. It's used as a
So God is neutral, gender neutral.
Gender neutral.
But in Arabic, the default position is a he.
Okay.
That's,
Yeah,
so
it's
there's
like-
no it in Arabic.
It's like when a royal pass says we. There's no 3 queens walking around. It's like the royal we. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is oneness to you?
One means a single entity,
Non-divisible.
and it's going to explain itself. He is one. The independent does not beget, nor is he begotten. Yeah, he doesn't give birth, nor was he given birth to, and there is none like him. That's our criteria for God.
Okay.
Not a human being, not a thing, not an object, not an idol, because even logically, an idol, if a fly comes and sits on it, the idol relies on you to remove the fly. The idol relies on you to put a garland around it. The idol relies on you to clean it. If somebody comes and elbows it, it's broken. It's finished. Human being, Jesus. He came, he had to obviously eat. What goes in must come out. Yeah? So it's not befitting of God to be sitting on the toilet, to be weak, to be put on the cross, to be ridiculed, to be sworn at, and to be put in a weak position. Does that make sense to you so far?
To our children.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're more than welcome to critique any of this, because the Islamic position of God, that's why Islam is the fastest growing religion, because you can explain it to a 5-year-old, you can explain it to a 10-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 50-year-old. Yeah, it's innate. In fact, Justin Barrett of University of Oxford, he said our belief in God is actually innate. Olivera Petrovich said the same thing as well. You can check these peer-reviewed journals. Yeah, that we're born with the inclination towards God. Yeah, to believing in God. Yeah, God.
Well, I would just say to that you're born in an innate willing. We want to understand. We want to understand. You're saying that's God. You're saying your understanding is God. I don't think you're innate to God. You're innate to understand. We're naturally inquisitive. We want to understand. That's why we have society. That's why we have buses. That cameras. Any of this stuff. That's only because we're inquisitive. That's because we want to understand. We want to better. But that doesn't equal God. We want to understand. That's why we have science. If we weren't naturally inquisitive.
James, swat me for that, because that was actually a good point. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. The science one, let's put that on ice for a second, because we don't want to conflate the two things. So the first thing you said is, it's not God, it's
the what we want to understand the world. We're inquisitive
the world
and how it works. So
right.
we can actually put God on that.
Right.
We like to understand why. Like it's the.
I got you.
It's the stopwatch.
I got you.
The world is so perfect that it must have been created.
I got you. So the peer-reviewed journal actually says no, it is actually God. That's what and that's why you're welcome to check that out. Let's just say we put that to the side for now as well. No problem. Santa Claus, the goblin, this, that, whatever fallacies are put forward to discredit people of faith. A child that's 5, 6 may believe in Santa Claus, 10-year-old. Now, as the person grows older, you don't hear of a 30-year-old saying, I have had a revelation. I am going to believe in Santa Claus now. Or a person that's 35 or 40 that says, I'm going to believe in the fairy godmother now. Yeah, it doesn't work. But when it comes to God, there are people that are 25, 30-year-old. In fact, there are people that are born in secular, atheistic households, but after looking, like whether it's Dawkins, whether it's Leo Tolstoy, all these guys, when you look at design, anybody that looks at design has to acknowledge that there has to be a designer. Yeah. So when you look at Santa Claus, when you look at other fairy tale things, a person won't accept them when they get older. But Islam is one of those things that you will. Go ahead.
I think evolution is the designer.
Right, that's a category mistake there. Evolution and Big Bang are mechanisms. Yeah, and God is a creator of mechanisms.
So you think God...
Let me just elaborate that. It's a small analogy. It's like a Ford car. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, how does it work? And somebody explains to me how it works. They give me the mechanisms. That doesn't mean that Henry Ford now ceases to exist. Henry Ford will always be there, even though I know how the pistons work, how I know how the hydraulics work. Similarly with the world, us knowing how things work doesn't exclude the designer. Good?
But why do you need a designer? Surely the evolution is good enough.
The pocket watch argument, isn't it? It's
Not necessarily, because the pocket watch example is a bit flawed. It's a William Paley example. It's flawed.
How is it any different to what you're saying?
Yeah, because a watch, it's one particular thing, and that one thing, you know the creator of that watch. You've seen the process taking place. But what you're saying is, but the universe, we haven't seen it being made, we don't know. But when you make that argument, that's a big slippery slope, because then you have to discredit Big Bang, you have to discredit evolution, you have to discredit geology, because evolution is predicated upon testimony, it's predicated on astrological findings, and you're not going to see the instigation and the beginning of that process. So that will that will lead to anarchy.
Using that argument, if we were to ask you, agnostic or atheist point of view, where did the universe come from? What would be your answer?
The Big Bang.
No, but the Big Bang is
It's a mechanism.
The same question to you, where the God, like the stuff, we as humans, in reality, we don't, like this hasn't come from nothing. Like you can't just, like it's very easy to just go, God came from nowhere. Like
No, we are not using God as an equation. That's the reason I asked you from your perspective.
What's your start? You're saying what's our start? What's your start?
Yeah, we'll give you our answer, but I want to know first from your perspective, where you don't base this creation on God. As theists we do, but because you come from a different perspective, that's why I asked you from your point of view, where do you think the universe came from?
It's an explosion from.
Do you think that Big Bang just happened out of the blue?
Yeah.
Well,
it didn't. That's what the scientists say.
There's theories that it's the result of a previous universe,
Now, there's a cyclic universe. Again, it is the least accepted model of the universe. In fact, it's not even accepted by majority of the credible scientists in that field. The one that is most accepted is the Big Bang theory.
The theory behind I'm saying Big Bang.
Say again?
There are 3 starts of the Big Bang. One is that it came through like a black hole. One is that it's always been
Black
there,
holes are
then
part of the universe, so you can't come through a black hole.
well, that's
Black
one of
holes are
the-
part of the universe.
Well, I scientists know better
It's
than
like
I
a,
do.
it's
I
like
don't
it's
know.
like a mother giving birth to herself.
Yeah, no, I've
Kind of
studied
thing.
it, and
Well-
things don't start from a black hole.
Yeah.
A black
That-
hole.
that's what we've been
yeah,
told.
yeah.
I don't know.
It's when a
Repeat
star
from that uni.
it's when a star explodes, and then a black hole is made after
Exactly, yeah.
supernova
It's after,
or
it's part of the
neutron
universe.
star.
There's an argument that it's popped out from.
What are the other two? You said there are three.
Oh, you said there were three.
No, I didn't say
Yeah.
three. Oh, you said there were three. Okay.
There's one where it's because you know the universe is constantly expanding.
Yes, it is.
It's expanding from one, but it's everywhere. It's expanding. Like the point is everywhere.
No, we don't say it's expanding in a point. The thing is, everything that is space and time for the scientists, that is the universe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's everywhere.
So when you say expanding, you know that's how they compute the age of the universe. So they look at there's an equation for the expansion, and they reverse that equation to find out the age of the universe, and they say it's something in the region of 13.8 billion years. So this is how. So anything that began to exist, yes, then that has a cause. So you cannot say the universe doesn't have a cause because the universe began to exist. See what I mean?
Sorry, what's your name?
Brishti.
Prishi.
Brishti. Brishti. But we
Brishti
really
with a
have
P.
to go.
B or P?
B.
B, yeah? Brishti.
I'll talk to you later because we really have to go.
Can we just make one thing before you go?
Okay, I'm gonna go. You
Where are you off to?
She's really thirsty. It's right there, yeah.
Don't let anyone block you.
Nice conversations. Yeah.
She's gone to get water, and then he's just followed her.
Oh,
Yeah.
are they coming back?
I think so. He wanted to stay for 5 more minutes. I think she was really thirsty. She asked for water about 20 minutes ago.
Oh, I see. That's fine, no problem.
Yeah,
We can
I-
continue later. So you can close it. That's fine. Yeah. The other one.
Was it Prishti or Brishti?
I didn't hear actually. So don't let anyone
They
block.
should provide a water public access here around here
Yeah,
because
yeah.
everybody come
You
here.
need to be constantly looking.
It's true, it's true.
Hot, you know.
But this is Britain. This hot weather happens very rarely here. In fact, if you leave a glass here, the rain will, replenish that. How are you, brother? Welcome salam. You good? Inshallah.
You can tell them politely.